throwaway because my roommate knows my main account, and honestly, I'm totally embarrassed about this whole situation. I, female, 28, have been living with my roommate Courtney, female, 27, for about a year and a half in a decent 2-bedroom apartment close to downtown. So a bit of background. I work as a physical therapist. When me and Courtney first moved in together, I was the one who brought basically all the furniture for the common areas. The sofa, coffee table, dining table, and chairs, entertainment center, all the kitchen appliances, etc. Courtney literally just brought her bedroom stuff and like a few random decorative things. A weird abstract painting that doesn't match anything and some succulent plants that she always forgets to water, and I end up having to save them from dying. Anyway, I'm third-generation Italian-American, and my grandmother came to America after World War II with basically nothing except her clothes and this handwritten recipe book. This cookbook is like, I can't even explain how important it is to my family. It's not just recipes. It has all these family stories written in the margins. Pressed herbs from my great-grandmother's original garden in Italy, notes from relatives who died, including my mom who passed away from cancer 8 months ago. God, I still can't believe she's gone. Cooking these recipes has been pretty much the only way I can feel connected to my heritage, and it's been helping me deal with my grief about my mom. Whenever I feel really down or miss her, I make her special lasagna recipe that she added to the book when I was a kid, and it helps me feel like she's still with me somehow. I was planning to make my grandmother's special celebration meal this weekend from the cookbook. This amazing ossobuco that takes like 6 hours to make. And my brother is getting married in a few months, and I've been planning to give him copies of some family recipes as part of his wedding gift. So here's what happened. I just got back from a 3-day weekend visiting my dad in Ohio. I'm looking for the cookbook in its usual spot on the kitchen counter, and it's not there. I start freaking out a little, looking all over the kitchen, thinking maybe I put it somewhere else before I left. Courtney is just sitting on the couch, my couch, by the way, scrolling through Instagram, and I ask her if she's seen the cookbook. She doesn't even look up and just says she decluttered the kitchen a bit while I was gone. I tell her I'm talking about my grandmother's handwritten recipe book, thinking maybe she just moved it to a shelf or something. And she just shrugs and says that old thing was taking up valuable counter space and keeps scrolling through her phone. At this point, I'm starting to panic, and my voice gets louder, and I ask Courtney what exactly she did with it. And she tells me she threw it away because it was collecting dust and looking messy. She said we need more space for a new juicer she's thinking about getting. She never mentioned getting a juicer before, by the way. I was completely shocked. I asked when the trash was taken out, and she said it was about 2 days ago, and the dumpster's already been emptied. I just broke down crying right there. I was trying to explain between sobs how irreplaceable it was, how it was the last thing I had from my grandmother who raised me, how my mom's handwriting was in there and she just died, how I've talked about this cookbook like dozens of times. And Courtney seemed surprised I was so upset. She just said sorry, that she didn't know it was important in this totally fake way. I know she knew because I've made recipes from it and specifically told her about its history. I literally screamed at her that she couldn't possibly be this oblivious and it wasn't just a book like she kept saying. I've never screamed at a roommate before, but I just lost it. I spent hours going through all the dumpsters in our apartment complex, even though I knew it was probably hopeless. I even called the waste management company to see if there was any way to recover it. The guy on the phone was actually really nice and sympathetic, but said once it goes to the landfill, there's basically no way to find it. It's been a week, and I've barely spoken to Courtney. I've been picking up extra shifts at work just to avoid coming home. When I am home, I just stay in my room. But here's what happened yesterday that made me done. I overheard her on the phone planning some fancy dinner party for her boss and coworkers next week. She was saying stuff about our gorgeous dining set and our amazing entertainment area, and I'm just standing there like, what the frick? I paid for every single piece of furniture she's talking about. I've started to realize how entitled she's become about everything in the apartment. Like, she'll talk about our furniture to her friends or family when she visits, but she didn't pay for any of it. And throwing away my cookbook was just the last straw. I'm getting upset again, just typing this. She just left for a business trip to Chicago for the weekend, And I spent the last hour going through all my old emails and cloud storage, finding all the original receipts for the furniture. Yep, everything's in my name just like I thought. I don't even know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm so angry I can barely think straight. That cookbook was literally irreplaceable. It had recipe notes from relatives who died decades ago. It had the last birthday card my mom wrote me before she got too sick to write, and Courtney just threw it away like it was garbage because it was taking up space. Edit. A few people are asking if I ever specifically told Courtney about the cookbook's importance. Yes, I have, multiple times. We've even had dinner parties where I've made recipes from it and told everyone the story behind the book. She's even complimented dishes I've made from it. There's no way she didn't know. To clarify about the furniture, when we moved in together, Courtney was coming from a studio apartment and had basically no furniture except her bed and dresser. I already had everything from my previous place. She kept saying she'd contribute to the common areas eventually, but never has in the year and a half we've been roommates. Thanks for all the supportive comments. Some people are asking about my lease situation. We're both on the lease, but it's month to month at this point. And yes, I do have somewhere I could potentially stay if things get worse. My aunt has a spare room. Now for the first update. So, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still trying to process everything. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me with support. I honestly wasn't expecting so many people to understand how upsetting this has been. To those asking if I've tried dumpster diving, yes, I literally spent hours going through every dumpster in our complex, even though I knew it was probably pointless. And yes, I called the waste management company. The guy was actually super nice, but once it goes to the landfill, it's basically impossible to find. Anyway, after posting last time, I spent the whole night going through all my emails and cloud storage to find the receipts for every piece of furniture in our apartment. And yep, just like I thought, everything is in my name. The couch, coffee table, dining table and chairs, TV stand, bookshelves, even the stupid welcome mat she keeps telling her friends she picked out special. I couldn't sleep at all Friday night. I just kept thinking about how many times Courtney has referred to our furniture or our place when showing people around. I always thought it was just like normal roommate talk. Like when you live with someone, you say, our kitchen, even though technically we're both just renting it. But now I'm realizing there's been this whole pattern of her basically acting like everything is equally hers when she hasn't contributed anything to the common areas. And it's not just the furniture. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how she's been slowly taking over more and more space in the apartment. Like the bathroom counter is covered with her skincare products. She has like 900 different creams and serums, I swear, while my stuff is crammed into this tiny corner. Her workout equipment is permanently set up in the living room, even though I've asked her multiple times to put it away when she's done. The fridge is packed with her meal prep containers, pushing my food to the back where it spoils because I forget it's there. Anyway, on Saturday, I went to visit my Aunt Diana. She's 56 and basically my second mom since my parents divorced when I was 8. I completely broke down crying in her kitchen. I tried to explain about the cookbook, but I was sobbing so hard she could barely understand me at first. That cookbook was the last real connection I had to my grandmother. She practically raised me after the divorce. My mom worked 2 jobs and was barely home. I used to sit on this little stool in her kitchen and watch her cook, and she'd tell me stories about growing up in Italy, about coming to America with nothing. She'd let me help stir things and would write little notes in the margins like, April stirred the sauce today, be careful of splashes. And after she died, my mom added her own recipes and notes. When my mom got sick last year, we'd sit together and go through the book, and she'd tell me more stories about Grandma that I'd never heard before. And then she'd add little notes like, Mom would have laughed at how much garlic April adds to everything. Sorry, I'm crying again just typing this. Aunt Diana suggested I just move out and get my own place. She actually said she never really liked Courtney anyway, from the one time they met at Christmas last year. Said she got a self-centered vibe from her. Wish she had told me that before all this happened, but whatever. While I was at Aunt Diana's, I started thinking about all my furniture and what to do about the apartment situation. I remembered this women's shelter my mom used to donate clothes to, so I called them up to ask if they accepted furniture donations. The lady I talked to got really excited and said they desperately needed furniture for families transitioning to independent living. I spent like all of Saturday going back and forth about what to do. Part of me felt like donating all the furniture would be too extreme, but then I'd remember how Courtney just threw away my cookbook without a second thought, how she acted like it was just some old book taking up space, and how she cared more about a juicer she doesn't even own yet than my family history. And then I remembered something that happened last month. Courtney had like 3 friends over in our living room when I got home from work. When I walked in, she introduced me as my roommate in this really dismissive tone. Then one of her friends complimented our sofa set, which is really nice. It was my big splurge when I got my promotion last year. And Courtney said, "Thanks that we really splurged on quality furniture." She said we splurged. I opened my mouth to correct her, but then felt super awkward about calling her out in front of her friends. So I just sort of smiled and went to my room. But then I could hear her showing them around the whole apartment, talking about their entertainment system and how they picked out all the decor. Later, I heard her tell them, "It's mostly my stuff," when one of them asked about moving in together. And when I confronted her after they left, she claimed she was just being polite and that I was being petty for even bringing it up. She made me feel like I was crazy for being bothered by it. Oh, and I almost forgot. On Saturday, I was looking for a photo on Instagram and realized Courtney's been posting pictures of our apartment for months with captions like "Home Sweet Home" and "My Beautiful Space" without any acknowledgement that most of it is mine. She even posted a picture of a dinner she made using my pots and pans with the caption, "Finally putting my kitchen to good use." Her kitchen. I was livid. The final straw was when I saw texts from her to her boss about how she was planning this elegant dinner party at my place for Monday night when she got back from her business trip to Chicago. I think what bothers me so much is how dismissive she was about the cookbook. Like, I've literally talked about it dozens of times. I've made recipes from it and told the stories behind them. She's complimented dishes I've made from it. There's no way she didn't know it was important to me. So Saturday night, I called the women's shelter back and asked if they could do a pickup Sunday morning. They said yes, and the coordinator seemed really grateful when I described all the furniture I was donating. I know some people will think what I did was too extreme. Maybe it was. I've been questioning myself all day about whether I overreacted, but every time I start to feel guilty, I remember how Courtney didn't even look up from her phone when I was crying about my mom's handwriting being in that cookbook. Sunday morning, the shelter sent a truck and 3 volunteers. They were so nice and thankful for everything. I helped them load up the sofa, coffee table, dining table, and chairs, TV stand, bookshelves, and all the kitchen appliances I purchased. I left Courtney's bedroom stuff untouched, obviously, and didn't touch any of her personal things in the common areas. I've moved in temporarily with my Aunt Diana while I look for a new apartment. I'm feeling really mixed emotions right now. Part of me feels guilty. Part feels satisfied that she'll finally understand what it's like to have something important taken away. And part is just anxious about the fallout when she gets home tonight. Courtney has no idea what's happened yet. Her flight gets in around 6 p.m. and she's probably going to walk into an empty apartment around 7 or 8 tonight. I've turned off notifications for her messages because I just can't deal with the confrontation right now. Edit. To those asking if I left anything for Courtney, no. I took all my furniture that I paid for. She still has her bedroom furniture and all her personal belongings. The common areas are just empty now. And yes, I did take photos of everything before it was removed, and I have all the receipts saved in case she tries to claim I stole her things. Now for the second update. So it's been about a week since everything went down, and holy crap, you guys, the last few days have been a lot. First, thank you so much for all the support on my last post. Anyway, after I helped the shelter volunteers load up all the furniture on Sunday, I went back to the apartment one last time to grab a few more essentials and leave my key. I debated for like an hour about whether to leave a note. Part of me wanted to just ghost completely, but I ended up scribbling something quick on a Post-it saying that since she threw away my family cookbook for taking up too much space, I decided my furniture was also taking up too much space, so I donated it to families who would appreciate it. I stuck it on the kitchen counter along with my key and just left. The apartment felt so weird and empty. Like I know I'm the one who emptied it, but still. It was super emotional, and I literally sat in my car in the parking lot for like 20 minutes just crying and questioning if I was being completely insane. My dad called me that afternoon to check in. He does this every Sunday. I almost told him everything, but then chickened out at the last minute. My dad is like the most forgiving person ever. He always taught me to turn the other cheek and be the bigger person when someone wrongs you. I just knew he would tell me I overreacted and make me feel guilty, and I was already feeling conflicted enough. So I just told him I was moving in with Aunt Diana temporarily because of roommate issues, and quickly changed the subject. The whole rest of Sunday was just me, alternating between feeling totally justified and then suddenly panicking like, oh my freaking God, what have I done? Aunt Diana was great though. She kept reminding me that Courtney showed zero remorse about throwing away something that was irreplaceable to me. I ended up taking a sleeping pill Sunday night. I have a prescription for occasional insomnia, and silenced my phone because I knew Courtney would be getting back and I just couldn't deal with the confrontation yet. Woke up Monday morning to 29 missed calls from Courtney. No joke. 29, plus like a billion texts and voicemails. The progression was actually kind of amazing. First text around 8 p.m. Sunday. What the frick, April, where is all the furniture? Then, is this some kind of joke? Where did you put everything? Then, answer your phone. Then, my boss is coming tomorrow night with the entire team. Where am I supposed to seat everyone? Then, this isn't funny anymore. Just tell me where you put everything. Then, around midnight, my dad knows a lawyer and what you did is illegal. It's theft. Then, at like 3 a.m., please, April. I'm sorry about your stupid cookbook. Just tell me where the furniture is. Then fine, whatever. I'll pay you for the furniture. How much do you want? Just bring it back now. The voicemails were mostly her sobbing and yelling. In one, she was literally hysterical, saying she had to sleep on the floor because some psycho, me, I guess, stole all her furniture. The audacity. I texted her back around 10 a.m. just saying that the furniture was mine. I had all the receipts and I donated it to a women's shelter for families escaping domestic violence. It's gone. That set off another explosion of texts about how I've ruined her life and how her career is literally over because of me. And how could I be so petty and vindictive over just some old book? Just some old book. I swear I almost threw my phone across the room when I read that. I had to go back to the apartment Monday afternoon to get more of my clothes and stuff, and I was honestly dreading it so much. I almost asked my cousin to go with me, but decided I needed to handle it myself. When I unlocked the door, Courtney was sitting on the floor in the empty living room, looking like absolute hell. Her eyes were all red and puffy, and her hair was a total mess, which is shocking because she's super image conscious, and I've literally never seen her looking anything less than perfectly put together. As soon as she saw me, she jumped up and started screaming about how I could do this and where everything was. She was like full-on hysterical. I tried to stay calm and just repeated what I'd texted her, that I donated everything to a women's shelter. You guys, she lunged at me and grabbed my arm really hard. I still have a bruise, demanding to know which charity so she could get it all back. I pulled away and showed her the receipts on my phone for all the furniture. Like literally everything was in my name. She started saying we had a verbal agreement that the furniture was for our shared use and that I couldn't just take it. I reminded her that she had no problem throwing away my property without permission. And she literally threw a tantrum, like stomping her feet and everything. Then she broke down sobbing about how her boss and entire team were coming over in a few hours and how she'd been planning this dinner party for weeks to impress them. I suggested she could explain to them how she threw away an important family cookbook without asking, and this was the consequence. She didn't appreciate that comment, lol. The most infuriating thing was when she offered to buy me a new cookbook if I would just get the furniture back. Like, a store-bought cookbook is not the same as 3 generations of handwritten family recipes and notes from my dead mother and grandmother. How does she not get that? So yeah, that confrontation was pretty awful. I just grabbed what I needed and got out of there as fast as I could. Later that day, one of our mutual friends, Matt, texted me saying Courtney had posted a desperate ad online looking for a roommate with a fully furnished apartment to share and was offering reduced rent. He also told me she ended up having to cancel her big, important dinner party with her boss, claiming there was a plumbing emergency in the apartment. Apparently, this dinner was supposed to help her chances at some big promotion, so she's blaming me for potentially ruining her career now. I mean, actions have consequences. I found a small studio apartment closer to work. Actually cuts my commute in half, which is nice, and signed the lease yesterday. I can move in next Monday. The apartment management company confirmed I can break our current lease without penalty since Courtney is staying, but she'll need to either qualify for the rent on her income alone or find a new roommate right away. Oh, and something kind of amazing happened. My Aunt Diana reached out to this elderly lady who was friends with my grandmother years ago. Turns out she had actually photographed a few pages from the cookbook like 10 years ago because she wanted to make my grandma's famous Easter bread. She only has photos of maybe 5 to 6 pages, but it's something at least. I totally broke down crying when Aunt Diana showed me the photos. Several of my relatives have also reached out, offering to share recipes they remember my grandma making. It's not the same as having all those handwritten notes and memories, but it's something. My cousin even remembered my mom's special lasagna recipe. Not perfectly, but close enough that I can recreate it. I went back to the apartment yesterday to get the last of my stuff. Courtney tried one more time to talk to me. She told me she didn't realize the cookbook was that important to me. I reminded her that I've literally talked about it multiple times, including at dinner parties where I've made recipes from it and told everyone the stories behind them. She claimed she was just trying to help organize the kitchen and suggested I was overreacting. I asked her why she didn't think to consult me before throwing away something that wasn't hers. And she just deflected and started asking again about buying replacement furniture. I told her no and explained that the furniture was now helping women and children who had escaped abusive situations. She complained that she's been sleeping on an air mattress in the living room and had to cancel her dinner party. I suggested that maybe this experience would help her understand the concept of respecting other people's property. Her final comment as I was walking out was something passive-aggressive about my extreme reaction and how most normal people would have just talked it out. I didn't even respond, just closed the door behind me. I've been thinking a lot about whether what I did was proportionate. Like, yeah, furniture is technically replaceable, and a handwritten cookbook with 3 generations of family history isn't. But at the same time, it wasn't just about the physical items. It was about how dismissive she was about something so precious to me. How she couldn't even look up from her phone when I was crying about my mom's handwriting being in that cookbook. I've started putting together a digital cookbook with all the family recipes I can remember or recover. It's not the same as having my grandmother's handwriting or the pressed herbs from her garden in Italy, but it's something. And actually, having all these family members contribute their memories of dishes she used to make has been really meaningful. Oh, and yesterday, I got a package from my brother. He was going through some old holiday cards from our grandmother and found a couple that had recipe notes scribbled inside them. It made me cry, but in a good way this time. It's a sweet reminder that while some things are lost forever, family connections help us recover what matters most.